before we begin, we are almost there.
So,
I am good.
okay.
So what is this microphone? You don't like?
You still gotta use them. You're just not gonna hear it.
Okay, guys. Now, a couple of announcements. These microphones, he will be able to hear, but you know, they look like as if they are not working. But they're working as far as he's concerned, so he can hear. So still speak in the microphone. So yes. All right. I'm going to call the meeting of Middleton Plan Commission for Tuesday, January 9th, 2018 to order. Happy New Year to all of you, and this is the first meeting of the year, 2018. So, and the first item is the roll call.
Commissioner Paulson?
Here.
And Reed?
Yes.
And Braun?
Here.
Sellers? Here. Wilson? Here. And Doran?
Here.
6 presidents.
So we just have one. Okay, so the first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes.
So moved. Second.
Okay, and the motion is to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. So the second one is the specific implementation plan modification for signage, the Masters Residences 5241 Bishop Bay Parkway. Mark?
Yeah, I don't know, well, maybe they're here they can answer if you have any questions, but this is a proposal for the new apartment buildings that went up in the last couple of years near the clubhouse across the street from the park. They're requesting an 8 by 2.5 foot ground sign, so about 20 square feet. Our normal guideline for such identification signs is 12 square feet, but given the context of the site and the retaining wall and the PDD zoning, staff is supporting the increased size. We think it's appropriate for the site. I do want to add to my recommendation of approvals of minor SIP modification that be contingent on the sign being placed outside the utility easement.
All right. Okay, any questions either to Mark or the developers here or any? Yes, Danny.
On account of the fact it looks better than the wall.
Wow.
I'll second that.
All right. So, well,
Outside of the utility.
yeah, it actually looks quite nice, I must say. So,
It is a nice sign, yeah.
It's a monumental achievement.
yeah, we are on the roll now. So.
One a night, that's all. Short meeting.
Is there any way,
Okay, so
Dave.
is there any way that I meant to get out there today and I didn't. The utility box, right, in this photograph at the side of it, is there any way that the sign could be used to mask the utility box?
Well, the problem is then it's probably going to be located in the easement.
In the easement.
We have allowed signs and easements before, but people who install those there are a sign and an easement run the risk, it's at their expense if the sign has to be moved if we need access to the easement or MG&E need access to it.
Is there any way to landscape around that? I didn't. It's only showing up in one of those pictures.
yeah, I see it.
Utility boxes are kind of ugly.
I wish there were, I mean, I'm sure the technology is there because they're in streets, but to put them underground, I wish they had like vault access to these boxes, but that's not what happens these days.
But it's already there and approved.
I've seen some really nice screening with some ornamental grasses and things. I mean, they're,
Yeah.
you don't paint it, but they soften it.
So you guys want to add that? Adding that grass probably won't be that much expense, right? So
Yeah, as long as it doesn't block the sign. Do that.
Yeah, I mean, you probably want to do that for your own.
Utility.
I don't think we can require it.
I think as long as
Yeah,
the utility
required.
company
That's
has
not our,
access
that's
to
not
it.
on the.
No, it's not on the agenda.
Yeah, we
Just
can.
something to think about.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, we can.
The spirit of penny lives.
More than-
Well, any
Flowering
other,
orchids, pink orchids.
okay, so any other questions, comments, or discussion? So the motion is to approve the sign for the master's residences. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes. All right, there we are. So the next one is the concept review for Notre Dame Village at the Black 9, the community of Bishop Bay, lot number 4. Eileen.
And this is John and Taylor are here to talk a little bit about it, but this is a revised plan. I think it does a lot of what we were hoping to have happen, which one of the things is connect with Callaway Court and provide for a big loop around, and it more integrates into the neighborhood. There's 8 units that attached, single family, well, they're attached essentially, but they're condos. But I think it all hinges upon having that connection with Callaway Court. So my recommendation tonight is to give some feedback. I don't know if they have things they want to talk about. Give feedback to them, and then refer it to the joint committee, and to allow time for the adjacent property owner on Callaway to provide that support in that letter, saying that that can happen. It still hasn't gotten approval of the council, still hasn't gotten approval of the planning commission, but I think this proposal has some things that can help integrate it more into the neighborhood, assuming that we have that connection with Callaway. Because then it's condos, it's part of a condo project essentially, or adjacent to it, and it's more than just something stuck in there after that.
Yes.
So unfortunately, I'm gonna miss the joint meeting, so I'm gonna ask the questions now. I remember at the last joint meeting when we were looking at this plan, the town officials implied that in their mind, there was some agreement to have 0 units on this parcel. And I just want to get that out in the open and give Tyler a chance to, at the mic, to address
Yeah, that's a good point.
your understanding of that issue. And then just to get Eileen, I think we've had multiple discussions on this, and at some level it boils down to the question of the numbers in the CSM and the other lots. Has that been settled?
Right now, they, the numbers that they had originally given us showed that they were done. They didn't include a little bit of right, that they were done, they were at 4.2. They hadn't included a little bit of right of way. So when you add that, I think they could have 2 or 3 more units. Now they're asking for 8 instead. So they're asking for a GIP amendment to allow that additional, I'm gonna say 5.
But we've already approved, or council's already approved, GIP amendments that change the boundaries of the neighborhood to include some of the open space.
They did not, it's not approved yet.
Not approved yet.
And that's because the planning commission and the council wanted to wait until such time as there was a plan, a development plan, to see how it fit into the neighborhood. I do have an email, I thought we could wait until there would be some action, but it is from a neighbor in the town saying, I thought, it's kind of the same thing that the town said, I thought we had an agreement, I thought this was it. But an SIP and a GIP, it's not uncommon to have a change proposed for it. And the town, it's my understanding, if we can have that Callaway Court connection and the city will approve it, then they might be able to say, okay, they're okay with it too.
We met with,
The town's concern is that the properties to the south
Right.
which,
have are concerned about the view because
Right,
it's,
and they would look
this
over.
property is
Yeah.
elevated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Having a single story would help a lot.
Yeah, can I touch on that?
Yeah.
Exactly. So the previous proposal was 9 units, and it was to 2-story. So now it's 8 units and 1 story. With the retaining wall, that's a 5-foot retaining wall right there. The grade difference between right here at the back of the lot line and the road is 35 feet. Not to
35 feet
mention-
going up.
35 feet vertically. So this is 35 feet lower than up here. Not to mention there's a tree canopy, which the town said in numerous meetings with you and that the tree canopy
Where's
is
the tree
critical.
canopy? This, okay.
this, all the green trees, and although there's some bad like box elders and poor quality trees, the town says they want to keep them regardless, just to keep foliage and screening. So, and then again, this is a wood fence here, and then the actual houses for the single family residents are very far back. So,
So this
as Eileen and I have said, you know, that from their house you will not be able to see these hidden single story.
This would be in the city,
This is in the city.
but the parcel adjacent to the south is in, it'll still be in the town.
This is-
And they'll probably likely stay in the town for a while.
And we met with the president, or the board president for the town of Westport, Dean, and Tom Wilson on Thursday. Eileen unfortunately couldn't attend, but Dean said that he'd put down his sword on this one, so to speak.
Dean was the one
That's
who
a good
raised
thing.
this, yeah.
Yes, he said he's gonna put down his sword so long as there's support from the neighbor. So we'll, you know, as Eileen said, that's one of the things that we're garnering is the support letter.
Right, one of the reasons why we're hoping to send it to the joint. One of the things that I have heard at least one alder say, is that, well, you know, we had an agreement, maybe they should take 8 out of the apartment building or whatever. And again, I understand, we've seen changes, but I think the worry was, well, you know, how many more changes, but there was originally going to be more units here, but you kind of,
The whole driving ring.
yeah, overestimated. what could
So the
be.
reason it's a GIP amendment is that the number of units in one of the neighborhoods that exceeds that 4.2.
Right.
Unless you,
I
I think part of
What
the,
did you mean when you said it was going to be more units?
Well, they had an area that they were gonna add, plus I think they,
It was another building or something.
it was right, well, it was another
Another
area that they
development.
didn't add to that. And when we first started looking at the neighborhood, it was thought that there could be more units, but then when they started planning it, they realized that.
This is a GIP.
and when we come back for the GIP or the MDP amendment, as we call it, all we're doing is, you know, we dedicated the park, which is Outlot 6, so we just want that to be included in the back neighborhood. So if you include that, then we're well under the density.
Because
And this is part of Back 9.
This is part of back nine.
So once you add that park, your population density comes to 3.9 actually from your
it does go
calculations.
down,
Hmm.
there's more land, so there's 8 more units, but the population actually, the density actually comes down.
To
There's 8 more
3.9.
units.
But the total number of units in the whole development
Will stay the same.
stayed the same. Well, we'll go up by 8.
No, because they can only have 2,950
Okay,
total.
that's fixed.
That's fixed.
That's not changing.
And
Essentially, yeah.
probably, they'll end up with less, given the issues of planning.
Because I remember what Cindy was saying is that at some level, we don't want to give feedback and try to approve or provisionally approve or temporarily provisionally approve a design if we don't think you actually are allowed.
Right.
We're going to be allowed to have these units in that spot anyway.
Right.
But I know from your perspective, that's been settled, but is that kind of a settled issue?
It's not settled yet, but that's what the planning commission and could make a recommendation at the next meeting or the meeting after that to the council. Because in the original GIP, it says that the densities will be calculated based on the areas shown in each neighborhood along with the rights of way and some park. Well, the neighborhood for Back Nine didn't include the park that Taylor was just talking about, that was actually dedicated as part of the planning for Back Nine. So the GIP amendment would add those 6 acres, or 7 acres, I can't remember at this point what it was.
Between 7 and 8.
You would add them to the back 9, but they've already been platted
They've been
as
platted and
parks.
they're part of the Back Nine plat, but it would be added to the map 3, which kind of governs the
The regulating.
boundaries, right, and the densities applied
So
to
if
the
they're now
boundaries.
added to that, they're taken from somewhere else.
They likely would, but what's probably gonna happen is, especially when you get into some of the reserve neighborhood, the traditional neighborhood, there likely could be fewer units anyway, but the overall amount is 2,950. And if I had to bet, I mean, I probably won't be here when they finish this, but if I had to bet, I would bet that there will be fewer than that. But we don't have any mechanism right now to say have fewer. Except that the GIP says 2,950 total for both the town and.
And that cap is also related to Carp C and the water and the sewer, so that's not changing.
And they checked this from a sewer, water, stormwater. It is doable. But again, part of the issue is, one of the things we've always talked about is, how does this integrate into the neighborhood? And that's where I think the changes that they're proposing, as long as we have the letter of the neighbor approval, I think that makes it work, because then it's a continuation of that Callaway Court and very similar homes that are on that.
Well, Tom Wilson, to that point, mentioned that it's, it's more cohesive with the comp plan for the area, where you have,
Can you expand a little bit on that connection to the Callaway Court?
Yes, because they show this as being so if you buy one of those 8 units, then you can either come in through the apartments off of Bishop's Bay, or you can come in through Callaway Court.
What are you getting, permission or approval?
Well, that's a private street, so it would be permission of the developer of that.
Callaway is a private street. That's
But that's
Simon.
not part of it.
It's not, it was part of Bishop's Bay, but they sold it. So if they can have the approval to have the access onto Callaway, then those 8 units become almost part of that, part of the neighborhood as well. Instead of being something that's stuck behind apartments, that you only access through the apartments, you have 2 ways to get there now.
Are we legally allowed to condition a GIP amendment on access to a private street?
Well, you're not approving it right now, so what we're saying is, I mean, they're the ones who proposed it, and so we're saying, wow, that does seem to make it work, so,
Right, because we,
did that.
as a GIP amendment, we don't want to put housing in an area where there's only one ingress egress. We want that connection.
And there would be an emergency access no matter what.
Right.
But I think this does help make it, and the fact that it would be condos, and that helps make it work too, versus single family where you're selling the.
So these are attached units,
They're-
1 story. How many square feet in each?
2,000 to 2,500.
Like
So
3 bedroom,
Yeah.
1 story.
It's kind of like the Westshire in Westport, where it's 2-car garage aimed for seniors and empty nesters, that kind of thing, just for ease of access.
Any other?
I think that's the policy question, but I know David has a lot of designs here.
Yes, David.
Who is Callaway Court?
Bill Simon.
Bill Simon.
Michael F. Simon is the builder. Just Bill Simon is.
Okay, okay.
So Michael F. Simon's
I
developing
thought I
these
knew all that, but I'm,
Callaway Court.
Well, we haven't talked about it for a while.
yeah, okay.
Can I add too, just to Kurt's point about the GIP versus, the chicken or the egg or the chicken, which one are we going to approve first? Is it the GIP amendment or is it the concept plan? And I think what happened is we had the 30-day notice for November 16th, whatever that plan commission meeting was. We ended up tabling it, because at that point Terrence said, I'm going to go back to the drawing board.
Right.
You guys don't want 2 stories, you don't want 9 units, let's come back with,
So they came back with
I think, previously Terrence was pushing against the whole condo structure because financing wise, Freddie Mac frowns a bit. There's a lot of complications with Freddie Mac financings and refinancings under condo structures, and if there's anything that taught us the perils of that, it was the recession when condos weren't completed and weren't sold and they were owned by developers and under declarant control, made refinancing difficult. So nonetheless, Terrence believes that the economy is promising, and so we're looking to make this investment now. And so that being said, we're now coming back to you guys with the concept. And if you guys say, yes, the concept looks good, subject to some of David's comments that you and I talked about before, and whatever other conditions, such as Eileen mentioned, joint zoning committee approval, then we can then go forward with the 30-day notice for the GIP amendment.
Well, we won't have to do another public hearing because that public hearing was held.
Okay.
So now it's, and that's why I guess I'm recommending tonight just giving the feedback and the questions and then bringing it back with the letter from the adjacent owner.
I think those 2 things, getting okay from the neighbors and connection to the Callaway Court, that will go a long way in taking care of it. So,
So why does it have to be a condominium ownership structure? why does it matter to us what the ownership of those
Yeah.
units is?
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be, but selling single-family, lots that don't have direct access to a public street is a little more problematic
Okay.
than selling a condo.
Legally, I prefer this. The
Okay.
condo structure is the zero lot line. kind of
Zero lot line
with
condos,
Common
yes.
areas and then square footage for the,
That's fine, I just thought we were requiring it. but-
No, I think it's something that just kind of,
We're not requiring the condos, they're proposing it.
they're proposing it.
Yeah.
They came back with this proposal after the hearing in November, so.
Yeah. I think it makes sense for the kind of, we're okay. with that.
Yes, David?
Can we talk about the design? for
Yes, yes.
I thought we had agreed that the 3 parking spaces above the last unit, 1, 2, 3, were not going to be built as parking spaces at this point in time?
I think you said you wanted us like you want gravel pavers or gravel? And that was the previous 9 units, but we still have it here, so I see what you're saying.
I mean, the lower side of the road, whichever it is, south side of the road, is private, right? And to put 3 parking spaces in there seems like an intrusion into that private zone,
And not needed.
and probably not needed. Right.
The only issue is that we'd have to have a conditional, like a variance, I think, for the apartments, because we need a lot of these. Isn't that right?
I think that's why they're there, yes. But
We need 35.
We had talked about just putting something that looks like, it would stop them from being landscaped, so that if we needed them, we could force you to put them in.
We've done paver with other developments, and in Madison at least, we've done pavers where grass can grow through them. Right, Jim?
right.
So it looks like grass,
Looks
but
like grass.
it can serve as
Until
parking.
such point in time, somebody has to.
So we can make that a
It seems to me
definitely.
that it's probably never going to be needed. And the other thing is, as you point out, the twisting of that number 3 and 4 units. I mean, it's just bad streetscape, what you've done right now. Yeah.
David brought up, and you actually did a really good job copying and pasting. Kind of just tweaked it a little bit. It reduces the driveway in this one, but I think to David's point, it kind of helps with the flow. So you kind of bring 3 up a little bit and rotate it, just so that it's, goes with the curve.
So there's a better angle there.
Yeah, so that the street looks like a continuous thing, rather than having this one unit that looks out into a blank wall of the adjacent property.
Sure.
That's a good job, yeah, that would make
Blank
it,
wall or a monument sign. And that's the other.
that does look smooth, that would make it lot
Rotate
smoother
3,
and
4.
nicer, yes. Mhm.
It was even better
You can have it.
Okay, great.
we didn't have those 3 parking places,
I'm gonna get
because
tired,
then
but I'm sure you.
1 and 2
Shuttles.
could move north a little bit, and that would
So this,
allow
this,
3 and 4 to
I
have
don't need
even
these
more
markers,
of
so
a
this could move a little bit,
frontage.
Sure.
10 feet north, maybe.
Sure.
So are you writing it down, you're getting a lot of input here
I know,
now,
some good
so-
feedback.
So
I-
that's,
Okay.
that's
Not, yeah, you don't wanna, you can't build into the trees.
The tree easement is right here.
There's a tree easement right there.
Spaces to make it count.
But
well,
right,
we're telling them it really
maybe what they could do
Variance.
is have an area identified, I think you guys said, it, where
This?
they could put 3 or 4 more
No
units,
storage?
but not put them in right away, because I think, can't move the building, no, but they could probably find a little bit more in their existing parking.
Yeah, I think those buildings are too close together. They, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, they work well. But 3 is definitely looking onto
Yeah.
2, on the
Yeah.
side of 2. That's, it's gonna get tiresome after a while.
Yeah,
Just like a wedge there.
Feeling like you're covered up by somebody else.
sure, that's a good point.
So, Eileen, let's talk about how to
Sure, address that.
address that further, because the other part of we're looking to construct the apartment building this spring. So I believe we already have SIP approval on that, but there's some conditions that we could, we'll talk.
Yes,
about
correct.
Bring it in.
Before we make a motion, or I guess this is just feedback, so.
Right, just feedback.
Okay.
But also referring it to the joint commission.
Bring it to the-
Right, so we'll get feedback from them, so. Which reminds me, could we appoint an alternate to the joint zoning, because a lot of those Thursdays I have to miss for a couple months. So.
Okay, well, we could try that on Wednesday too, but this time it was just, sorry.
Send Cindy instead.
Cindy could be in.
I would do that.
She could as an alternate.
Yeah, she can do that, yeah.
Is that okay? I don't know, from a standpoint of
Right.
I think it needs to be in the ordinance.
has to be in the ordinance, okay,
I would think so.
all right.
Sorry.
Well, maybe
I could
work-
resign and you could appoint Cindy.
Let's keep it the way it is, so.
Nice try.
Yeah, so maybe we can change
Good.
the dates and the time, so. Okay, so more input? Anybody else? So somebody's gonna make a motion then?
I'll move
Sure,
that we
sure.
refer to the Middleton Westport Joint Zoning Committee.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, so the motion is to refer this to the Westport, Middleton Westport Joint Commission, and then the other was to provide input, so we have done those two things, so. Any further input? Yes, sir.
Are Simon's lots on Callaway Court, are those kind of twin zero lot lines?
No.
Are those singles?
No, they're pretty big. I think they're 125 feet wide.
But
mean,
they are
they're-
condos, right?
It's in a homeowner association.
Okay.
Technically,
Okay, so
they
they're not-
Phil ended up platting it,
Okay,
but or actually we did.
I can,
Long story.
yeah, anyway, okay.
In conjunction with.
Kurt, would you mind if your motion said that, including our comments here tonight that are being referred?
Yes.
That would be fine with me.
Oh, yes, indeed,
I think she
yeah.
made the motion.
Okay,
It's-
including all the comments, folks.
Thank you guys.
Okay, further discussion.
More to say?
No, I just want to say thank you guys for your patience. I know I've been up here a lot and you might be getting sick of me, but appreciate your time and your input.
Thank you.
Say might.
Okay, so if there are no more questions or comments, all those in favor of the motion to refer it to the Joint Commission and including all the comments, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. All right. So the next item is set a public hearing for the ordinance amendment to correct and clarify provision relating to parkland fees for subdivisions.
Wow, we extended.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion now? Well, it's just setting a date, so do you?
It may
have
all
a-
be moot if,
Oh, yeah.
So do we have a date or just, did you set any date? or-
February 13th.
Oh, February
Just didn't put a
13th.
time yet
Okay.
because we're not sure how many-
Okay, so all those favor of this motion to set a public hearing date, February 13th, say aye. Anyone opposed? So the motion passes. The next one to set a public
Goes
hearing.
without saying why that might soon be moved.
Yeah,
Okay, set a public hearing date for delete Plan Development District infill from zoning ordinances, section 10-94.
and that's coming
Please
from
let me
staff.
make that.
Okay.
I'll second.
As much as I've heard about it. just
Yes.
hearing it.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing. If you have a ordinance, you got to enforce it. Otherwise, why do you have it?
We
We were enforcing it. but-
we still have
Okay.
to solve a problem is with the PDD.
Yeah.
To deal with infill sort of issues, but
Okay, well,
And I
think
can-
we're gonna talk a little bit.
I can certify, having had a graduate student do a paper on this last semester, that nobody else in the county has PDDI
There we go.
nobody in the county has a PDDI.
that has the similar sort of requirements and restrictions that we do.
And why is,
Sun Prairie has multiple types of PDDs, but they're all governed under the same procedure and same ordinance.
so do you know why that is?
Because they don't need PDD info.
Are we dragging or are we leading?
For dragging.
I think
That's a good question.
calling something infill but having an FAR restriction of 0.7 is definitely lagging.
It's contradictory.
Yeah.
And it's from 30 years ago, so.
I think coming up with a way to facilitate a good public, robust process and good design for high-quality, mixed-use high-density infill is important. And PDDI did not do that.
I feel like we have that, but that was muddied by that.
So,
But there still is there still is an ordinance within PDD recommending that it be over 100,000 square feet, which does not fit small parcels.
Yeah, you know, we're gonna change that too.
so you will have your student come on that hearing date? Okay, the motion is to set a hearing date for deleting the planned development district infill, PDDI. So all those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? So the last one is to set a public hearing request for conditional use permit for Lycon Incorporated.
Before you make a motion, Mayor, I'd like to
Yes.
edit my staff comment.
All right.
This is actually going to become, this is actually a bit more nuanced than it may appear. Unfortunately, the site is divided into two zoning districts. The western half is B3, the eastern is industrial. Our ordinance for industrial zoning has a provision that says you can allow a building higher than 35 feet as a conditional use. However, that language does not exist in B3 zone. So we are currently working with our city attorney to look at options. You can still set the public hearing tonight for a conditional use permit for the 13th as we recommended. But I just wanted you to know the staff comment that what I had put in there about that the 35-foot maximum height is permitted in both B3 and industrial zoning districts, higher than what's permitted, and allowing that as a conditional use, you may find that it's only going to be limited to the industrial zone side.
Can it be rezoned to industrial, the B3 part?
That's one of the options we may be coming back with. So.
But it may have some other implications if you do that.
Right. So we'll. I just wanted to clear the record or set the record that I had made an error in my staff comments. So.
Yeah, well, we will discuss that tomorrow.
Yeah.
So. Okay.
To set a February 13th as a public hearing?
Second.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess there's when you're just setting a date, there's no discussion there, right? All those in favor of the motion to set a
Is this,
hearing date for the conditional use
I have a
permit?
question yet?
Yes.
Is this, weren't they trying to move this at one time, or?
There's been talks through the years, but we've never made an official move to do anything like that. And they have purchased other property, but they still intend to, they've put a lot of investment here. So we've never officially said we wanted to.
It's just like, it thought.
Just a, yeah, could there be a redevelopment? The other developers have looked at it and said, could there be a redevelopment? But I think they're pretty set there.
But if they move ahead with this, it happened.
Oh, well, they've moved ahead with some other improvements
Yeah.
too, so.
So as long as they do that, it's a permitted use on all of that, if they have,
Yep.
they have the rights to
Yeah,
stay, right?
yeah.
Okay.
That's why this is more. We'll be putting together a thorough analysis and recommendation for that meeting.
Yeah, that's clearly not the higher and the best use, but that's how it is. I think this has come up in the past multiple times, but they want to stay there, so that's how it is. So. Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passed unanimously. Need a motion to adjourn. Boy, this was short, huh?
We'll
Okay.
always allow Dennis to do the motion.
All those in favor say aye. We are adjourned.
In the Western tradition.